ever been in a situation at work where your boss suggests an idea in a meeting
Mm-hmm.
and you immediately see a potential problem, like a real flaw, but you hesitate. You don't want to say anything.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of not wanting to rock the boat.
Exactly. You stay silent, and then later on, maybe that very issue causes a real headache.
It's a very common experience, I think, figuring out how to voice a concern, especially to someone, higher up. It can feel quite delicate.
Right. Well, that is precisely what we're diving into today. We've gathered some really fantastic insights to give you 6 diplomatic English expressions.
Okay.
And these aren't about just like disagreeing flat out. They're about expressing a different viewpoint on your boss's idea, but in a way that keeps that working relationship strong, shows you're thinking strategically.
And it's really interesting, too, because how we approach these kinds of conversations, it can be quite different depending on, well, cultural norms, right?
That's a great point.
What might fly as constructive feedback in one place could be seen very differently somewhere else.
Definitely something to keep in mind.
Oh.
Okay, so let's get into our first expression. It is, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I'd like to suggest an alternative approach.
This is a powerful way to start. That first part, I appreciate where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It immediately shows you've actually heard them.
Yeah.
You understand their perspective. And that validation, well, it's key. It kind of lowers the emotional temperature, makes them more open to hearing other ideas.
Right. It shows respect right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then the second part, I'd like to suggest an alternative approach. It gently introduces another possibility. Without directly saying, your idea is bad, the word suggest is just much softer, isn't it? Less confrontational than saying, oh, that won't work.
Absolutely. It reframes the whole thing. It's not conflict anymore. It's like a collaborative, let's find the best solution kind of thing.
Okay, so an example might be something like, I appreciate where you're coming from with the aggressive timeline, and I'd like to suggest an alternative approach that might help us maintain quality while still meeting the deadline.
See, in that example, you acknowledge the timeline concern, but then you propose something that also brings in another vital point: quality.
Yeah, exactly. Let's really let that phrase sink in. Maybe say it a bit slower. I appreciate where you're coming from, and I'd like to suggest an alternative approach.
Think of it like nodding. You understand their direction, then gently pointing towards a slightly different path.
Okay, good visual. What's our second expression?
Our second one is, I see the benefits of your idea. Have you also considered?
Ooh, I like this one. It's clever because you start positively, right? You acknowledge the good points first. Shows you're not just hunting for flaws.
Exactly. I see the benefits of your idea that establishes common ground straight away. And then asking, have you also considered? Well, that just opens up a space to talk about other things, other relevant bits that maybe weren't immediately obvious.
Right. Like, I see the benefits of your idea to launch really quickly. Have you also considered how this might impact our quality assurance process?
Yeah, perfect.
We might need, additional resources to maintain our standards.
That example acknowledges the speed, the desire for a fast launch, but then it thoughtfully brings up a crucial point, the potential knock-on effect on QA.
Okay, so picture this. You're giving a mental thumbs up, like, yep, get the benefits, and then you pause, look thoughtful, and ask your question. Let's repeat that one too, a bit slower. I see the benefits of your idea. Have you also considered?
Good. Okay, moving on to number 3. While I agree with the overall direction, I'm concerned about.
This is super useful, especially when you genuinely do support the main goal, but you have worries about, like, the specifics of how to get there.
That's exactly it. The opening, while I agree with the overall direction, clearly signals you're on board with the big picture. That alignment is important.
Yeah, just you're on the same team. And then, I'm concerned about. Introduces your specific reservation, but it does it in a less confrontational way. Framing it as a personal concern softens it.
Precisely. So, for example, while I agree with the overall direction of expanding into the Asian market, I'm concerned about our current lack of cultural expertise in that region.
Okay.
Perhaps we should consider partnering with a local firm first.
That makes sense. Now, there's a really important caution here, isn't there?
Yes. You should only use this phrase if you genuinely agree with the overall direction.
Right. Because false agreement, that can really damage trust down the line if they figure it out.
Absolutely.
Think of it like you're pointing in the same general direction, saying, yeah, let's go that way, but then you also point out a potential pothole you see just ahead.
Good analogy.
Let's say it again slowly. While I agree with the overall direction, I'm concerned about.
Okay, expression number 4. This one leverages your own background. Based on my experience with similar projects, we might face challenges with.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Mm.
Using your track record, your actual experience, to highlight potential issues objectively. It feels less like just an opinion.
Exactly. It shifts from, I think this might be a problem, to here's what I've seen happen before. It carries more weight.
That key phrase, based on my experience, it adds instant credibility. You're grounding your concern in something real, something tangible.
You're not just guessing, you're drawing on actual past observations.
So an example could be, based on my experience with similar projects, we might face challenges with the proposed timeline, especially in the testing phase. In the past, this stage has typically required at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, and see how adding that specific detail, 3 weeks, gives concrete support to the concern about the timeline. Makes it much stronger.
Definitely. So imagine yourself mentally flipping back through old project files, recalling those hurdles. That's the vibe. Let's repeat it. Based on my experience with similar projects, we might face challenges with.
Okay, number 5. This is a very gentle one. I wonder if we might be overlooking.
I really like this one. It's so indirect. It's not a challenge at all, really.
Not directly, no.
It frames the issue as just a possibility, something that maybe hasn't been fully considered, rather than saying someone actually made a mistake. That use of wonder is classic subtle communication.
It really is. I wonder is very soft, very non-confrontational. And the word overlooking, well, it implies an unintentional miss, doesn't it? Rather than a fundamental flaw in the idea itself.
Yeah, it's a less direct way to point something out. For example, I wonder if we might be overlooking the impact this decision could have on our long-term customer relationships. Sometimes, short-term gains can lead to unexpected consequences down the line.
And that highlights a potential long-term risk that maybe wasn't the immediate focus. It broadens the perspective gently.
Okay, so the mental image here is maybe looking up slightly, pausing, almost like you're just thinking aloud. Did we think about this? Let's say that one again. Wonder if we might be overlooking.
All right, our final expression, number 6. This one is highly diplomatic. I value your insight, and I also think it's worth exploring.
Okay, this starts with really strong positive acknowledgement, doesn't it? Valuing their input before suggesting anything else.
It does. I value your insight. That's a powerful way to show genuine respect for their perspective, for their contribution.
And then the word also is key.
It's crucial. It signals you're adding to the discussion, not contradicting what they said. You're building on it. And it's worth exploring just suggests another avenue, another possibility to consider.
Okay, let's try an example. I value your insight on focusing on cost reduction, and I also think it's worth exploring how we might maintain or even enhance quality while doing so.
Right.
Perhaps there are, innovative approaches we haven't considered yet.
And that acknowledges the importance of saving money, which might be the boss's focus, while also carefully raising the equally crucial aspect of quality.
Yeah. Now, a word of caution with this one, too, I think. Sincerity is vital.
Oh, absolutely vital. If this one doesn't sound genuine, it can really backfire. Comes across as insincere flattery.
Okay. So picture finding a treasure that's valuing their insight and then pointing towards another interesting path nearby. Hey, look over here, too.
Yeah, works.
Let's repeat it slowly. I value your insight.
Yeah.
And I also think it's worth exploring.
Okay, so those are the 6 expressions. Now, maybe we should touch briefly on that cultural context point we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, good idea, because how these phrases land can really depend on the workplace culture, can't it?
Definitely. Directly disagreeing with someone in authority. Well, that's perceived very differently around the world. Some cultures really prioritize indirect communication to maintain harmony, to show respect for hierarchy.
Right. But in many, maybe especially English-speaking business environments, there's often a greater value placed on direct, but still respectful communication. This idea of constructively challenging ideas, you sometimes hear it called speaking truth to power. It's often seen as a positive thing, a contribution if it's done appropriately.
Exactly. And that's where these diplomatic phrases are so incredibly useful. They give you the tools to navigate those cultural nuances much more effectively.
They let you express a different viewpoint while still being mindful and respectful, whether the culture leans towards directness or indirectness.
Precisely. They bridge that gap.
Okay, so just to quickly recap those 6 key expressions for diplomatic pushback.
1, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I'd like to suggest an alternative approach.
2, I see the benefits of your idea. Have you also considered?
3. While I agree with the overall direction I'm concerned about.
4. Based on my experience with similar projects, we might face challenges with.
5. I wonder if we might be overlooking.
And 6. I value your insight, and I also think it's worth exploring.
Understanding these and, knowing when to use which one, it can really make a difference in how you communicate at work.
Yeah, it helps ensure your thoughtful contributions actually get heard and hopefully taken seriously.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. And actually, for our next deep dive, we're going to be looking at something related but different. Asking without asking. Advanced expressions for indirect questioning.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. How to get information subtly.
Exactly. It's all about getting the information you need, but maybe in a more subtle or strategic way. Should be really interesting.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. We're always exploring ways to help you enhance your communication toolkit. So until then, maybe try practicing some of these techniques we discussed today.
Good idea.
And we look forward to our next deep dive together.